We move now to item number 13, conscious that it's after 3 o'clock. And I just double check, this is the audit and risk referral again on our top risk quarterly update. Just to double check that Emma Mosley is on the line, our Chief Risk Officer. Are you there, Emma?
Tēnā koutou, Emma Mosley here, yes.
Kia ora. And you've got a presentation I think you want to show us, so we'll let's get into it.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou e noho mai nai, e aku rangatira tēnā koutou. My name is Emma Mosley and I'm the Chief Risk Officer leading the risk and insurance team at Council. This report is the quarterly referral of the top risk reporting from the Audit and Risk Committee, who has delegated responsibility to advise the governing body on governance, risk management and internal control. The significant proportion of today's agenda has been on considering and discussing risks and management of current issues and risks and decisions being considered. I believe the people on this call and the councillors in particular have done a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to risk management today. This report is to provide you with oversight of the bigger picture and the risks and current issues and decisions so that you have oversight of the risks and how management and all of staff are managing those risks. It's part of our normal ongoing continuous process, and in today's environment, continuous risk monitoring, adjustment and response action is absolutely critical. There's been a recurring theme in the many forums and discussions recently, and as recently as yesterday in workshop discussions on climate change, about the challenge of making decisions that appropriately factor in and weigh up the opportunities and the risks. So the report that's before you today and the information that's in it, I hope will provide some insight and also provide a basis for feedback and discussion on the risks that we are all leaning into and managing at this time. In response to the COVID-19 events, we've increased the frequency of enterprise risk monitoring, review and reporting to a bi-monthly process, and we're also working to support and ensure that risks are analysed and the best information possible is brought to this forum and all forums to enable good decision making, and it is all flowing through. At the moment, we're in the process of preparing for our annual risk review and reset with the new chief executive and the executive leadership team, and that's going to take place at a time to be determined in October. That new top risk profile will be reported back to GB in December. So I won't go into a lot of detail with the top risks in the papers and all the information that is there, because I think that the councillors are well versed in all of the challenges and risks at the moment. Suffice to say that there are, as we all know, several significant risk events impacting and requiring response by council and our communities, three of which are the drought, COVID-19, which brings health and safety response and recovery challenges. And in addition to that, we have also experienced in the last quarter the heightened cyber attacks and the denial of service attacks, all of which operate cumulatively. We've also had the CCO review and long-term plan processes proceeding, and they're front of mind, and the risks and understanding and management of the risks are central to those processes as well. So the risks that are in the attachment A to the 15th of September of the Audit and Risk Committee report is the current assessment of risks that are being managed, or the top strategic risks. They're cumulative, they're interrelated, and we are not looking at them or managing them in isolation. Many of Council's actions, mitigations and controls are directed to reduce the likelihood or the consequences of multiple risks. So rather than treating them as a list of risks, we manage them as a risk profile and use our analysis of the drivers and the impacts to adjust and manage the risk join the dots, I've heard people say today, between the different work streams and help us scan ahead for future shocks and build resilience in the organisation and inform the very important decision making happening every day. Since we reported in May, we've done quite a bit of work across the organisation to evaluate 3 emerging risks: the risk to Māori outcomes, risks in the space of our recovery looking forward and what might hold us back from that, risks to ensure prudent financial management are the 3 main areas. The assessments of those are all in the papers, and I don't propose to go into that in any more detail, but I'm happy to take any questions talk in any more detail on any aspects of the papers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emma, and I know the attachments are pretty weighty. If there are any questions or comments, I'll take them now, but I think, we have one from Councillor Papacoon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is kind of a question that I think I can get away with as a new councillor. And I think I've only got that right for another week after the first year anniversary. I think that there's no more new councillor speak. So this might be a bit of a naive question, but Emma has partly answered it, I think. But I just wanted to be really clear. So, and I acknowledge that this is kind of in the scheme of things, this is not the big risks, the top headline risks, but acknowledging my responsibility, I have logged a risk in relation to the dying pine trees at Western Springs, and I understand it's on the risk register, and I can't find any specific reference to that. And I just would like to know, where do I go to find that it has been logged and that it is being managed as a risk? And I know that there's the tree risk assessment, but I just want to know specifically, how do I track me logging that issue on the risk register? So it's I think I just need to be a bit more educated about how this system works. So I hope I can get away with that question naively, and not knowing, and the fact that I don't know the answer after this first year.
Emma, I don't know whether it's something you can give us an answer to here, or you'd need to take it offline with Councillor Coombe. But are you able to comment on it?
Absolutely, thank you. And no, it's not a silly question at all. And I would be happy to have a longer conversation offline about how it all works at council. Risk is the thing I like to talk about most, so I'm very, very pleased to do that. With regards to your question about Western Springs specifically, and any other issues or risks that have been, as you use the phrase, logged or alerted, or you've spoken up about over time, we have a number of different systems and processes through council to capture risk and escalate up and down. We don't have a central enterprise risk system at council that you might see in a bank, say, or another corporate organisation. We manage by having risks being captured at the point by the risk owners or those that have control over them, and then they get escalated up depending on what they are. The risk reporting that you've got before you today is the strategic risks. These are the big rocks, if you like. They don't include operational risks, such as the one that you're talking about, the risk of the trees in the Western Springs forest that we do know, and I do know, and am involved with that project. So I'm aware of the facts of the case where there is an identified risk of those trees falling due to their age and decline. So that risk is logged with the project concerned and with the operations and in community facilities, and it gets escalated where necessary. It doesn't sit in this risk register that you see, but they are joined up by cascading, if you like, through. We don't have a central system where we can search, but we do have our risk manager system, and I do have on my program of work improvements to improve the way we capture and are able to track how we are doing with all our risks across council. At the moment, we manage them separately with those, in different places across council. I hope that answers sufficiently.
Thank you. That's really useful to know, because I felt that I was kind of missing something in the puzzle, but that fills in some gaps. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I need a mover and a seconder for this. A move by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Coombe. There being no other questions or comments, I'll put the recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary,
Aye.
no. Carried. So we